You're not living just to work. You're living to live life, and work is a resource.
If it's not good, then people will maybe give that feedback to you and you move on from it and you just learn and you grow from it.
No matter what your specialty is or niche is, it's all just about finding what you're passionate about, what you can uniquely provide to everybody, and then running with it.
Hi there, it's Cameron Vakilian with Inspire, the podcast where we discuss what makes a successful career and why. For this episode, I'm so excited to have Sheila Ghaibi joining me today. Sheila is a full-time content creator and fellow colleague of mine, friend of mine. We're actually meeting after so much time has passed. So this is kind of a reunion for us as well, too. I'm excited to get to interview you today. How are you?
I'm great, and it's so great seeing you again. It's been too long, but you and our time at the University of Utah together has such a special place in my heart.
Same to me. I always remember our memories. We had such a good time. We were both orientation leaders. I actually still have the group picture behind me here of us. That is our group picture there.
Wow.
When we were orientation leaders, young orientation leaders at the University of Utah. But we also were in UPC together, the Union Programming Council. It is so cool to see what you're doing now. And you're now in Seattle. So that's why we're doing a virtual interview today. So tell us about yourself and the kind of content that you create.
So I am a full-time travel and adventure content creator, and I also have a travel podcast that I'm relaunching this year. So I pretty much just love to share tips and recommendations and get people to get out and explore the world. So I have over 10 years of experience doing marketing and communications in the corporate world. So for brands like REI, Microsoft, and T-Mobile. And I also worked for the University of Utah College of Education too, right after undergrad. And that is what eventually led me to the decision to come out to Seattle for grad school at UW, and therefore leading me to the life I have now.
Yes. And the life you have now is the life that so many students I have been meeting with and talking to want. You know, they want to know about content creation in various fields. Like I work for the College of Humanities, so not just communication majors anymore, but, history majors, philosophy majors, English majors, and wanting to do their thing and learn how to kind of get into the content creators space to do what they're passionate about. So this is so fantastic you're doing that.
Anybody could do it, no matter what your specialty is or niche is. It's all just about finding what you're passionate about, what you can uniquely provide to everybody, and then running with it.
Well, I love that. We're going to dive all into that and what you have done with your content creation and strategies with that. So that leads into my question of, do you feel like your role as a student leader and your involvement contributed to your success as a content creator?
Yeah, I really do believe so. I think it's more so the idea of community, and a community that encourages you to think big and think outside the box and think of ideas on your own, which really helped me be brave enough to do things on my own and to go off and be my own boss and really create things from nothing. And I do think creativity is a muscle, and all of these programs and these things we were involved in undergrad really helped the groundwork of getting that muscle going and keeping it going throughout life.
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it, that creativity is a muscle. And it really instilled confidence, I think, in us, right?
Exactly. Yeah, confidence and to believe in ourselves.
And to have that community, I mean, we obviously had such amazing friends. I actually want to flash this picture too. This is of us in UPC, the Union Programming Council. This is actually of us I think we were planning some Halloween event or something because we're all in our, we have our costume or something, whatever we have going on here. It just goes to show you, right? Like we were doing small events at the time, in Union Programming Council. We were just learning about programming. We had our mentors and such. And now we're doing such amazing things and we have grown so much as professionals.
Yeah, I think being surrounded by like-minded people is everything. I've heard this quote. I might not get it all the way correctly, or maybe it's not a quote, but you are a collective of the five people you spend the most time with. And so being involved in those programs or having like colleagues or friends that not think exactly like you, but think in a way that could broaden your perspective and broaden your mind, broaden your ideas is so crucial to where your life is going to go. Us all being so close when we were in undergrad, it broadened our world. Like you could see where all of us ended up, and it kind of shows that if you're around the right people, you could create your own reality in that sense.
Absolutely. And eventually collaborate like we are now for this podcast, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I tell students all the time, I'm like, stay in touch with your friends, build those networks, not just with, your mentors or, professionals that you're working with in your internships and whatnot, but
Mhm.
also your friends, your colleagues, because they do become part of your network later on. And,
Yeah.
their success is your success, and you feed off of each other and you root for each other. And it's so cool that we can stay in touch like this. I mean, I follow you on social media. You've seen me on social media. We have that relationship where we'll like occasional things and we'll see what we're up to, and it's just so cool because that is how it can go. It's not like we had to be uber close throughout the years. We were always kind of seeing what we were up to, but that's why it's so important to keep those networks in place.
Yeah, it really is. And that doesn't stop. Connections that I have through undergrad still come to fruition like every day now. Like this is a perfect example. But even in grad school, those connections then led to some jobs. The jobs that I had led to some partnerships through content creation. There is still so many connections of people throughout life that it never ends. And it's such an important tool to have and to recognize that really anyone that you encounter is an opportunity to broaden your world, to broaden your experiences, your opportunities, and yeah, the way you think.
Absolutely. So now I want to talk about your content creation and everything that you're doing, and you're so talented. I've seen, the TikToks you post and just the lifestyle stuff that you do and the travel and how good you've gotten throughout the years, right? Like I'll see things and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, that's better and better." And now I'm sure you've got brand partnerships and all of these things going on. So let's dive into that a little bit. So, what do you think is the biggest challenge you faced being a content creator?
The biggest challenge would probably be in social media. It is such an ever-changing landscape that when I was working in like a corporate space, we were always learning from our teammates, our colleagues, industry leaders, and sometimes even the platforms themselves.
Mhm.
Now, being my own boss and kind of, doing this on my own in a sense, I'm having to learn all of that on my own. But it just goes to show how important community is in learning these things. Like we've gone from, photo content, short form video to long form video to audio. And now there's just like this wide range of types of content people like to consume. So I think one of the biggest lessons that I've had to learn is really finding which type of content makes me the happiest and which ones my audience resonates with most. So finding the overlap of that is what has been the biggest challenge, and which is why I'm bringing the podcast back in 2025, because I know that that was one that a lot of people have used as a resource and listened to and really appreciated and liked. And so that's a little thing of like listening and returning it back to the people who have made it possible for me to do this full time and live out one of my dreams in some ways.
Tell me a little bit more about when you made the move to full time and what that looked like.
It was about a year and a half ago. And in full transparency, I, when I stepped into the corporate world, I kind of knew it wasn't for me. It was just a little bit of like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to work a 9 to 5, make money, buy a house. Like I was trying to just go through the steps, but it never felt right for me to quit the corporate world and start something else until a year and a half ago, when my content creation started becoming something that I realized I could rely on a little more heavily on. Yeah, it felt right. It felt like I knew what I was putting out there was resonating with people. I knew that this was something that I could do for, at least a couple years, maybe more. Your goals and dreams can change every 5 years, every 10 years, or every year. And
Yeah.
so putting myself in a position where I have the ability to change as I grow and as I go through life is so important for me. A year and a half ago, maybe actually longer, 2 years, I made that decision. It felt right, and I've been doing it ever since. And it feels right for the moment.
That's so inspiring to hear because you're right, things really do change. I bet there was probably nervousness for you to make that jump and say, you know what, corporate life isn't for me. This is what I want to be doing, and I can make money from this, good money doing this.
Yeah, oh, it was very nerve-wracking, especially because like the stability, the cushion that all of that the corporate world comes with is definitely not easy to say goodbye to. It's definitely the right move for me, but it might not be the right move for some people. But I do think that everyone does have like a passion or something within them that they want to share or that they think the world needs from them. And I think that that is such a beautiful thing that we need to explore more in every individual.
Absolutely. And you're right, it can be really scary to let go of stability in that way, right? To say,
Mhm.
oh, will this be less stable? Will I feel like I'm pressed and, if I don't make enough content or if I aren't delivering the right things to my audience or, what if I get burnt out from this? There's so many fears that I know people have in that world,
Yeah.
but I've seen it from so many people, even alumni we've had on. Actually, last season, we had an alumni, Natalia, come on and talk about content creation and strategies of what she did to make it work full time. And it really takes a lot of work, as you know. I'm sure you have to produce a lot of content. You're thinking about a lot of things and analytics. But at the end of the day, you're doing what you love. You're being you and you're showing the world that. And you're getting better each time doing that to where now you're really just, it's natural for you. Your audience sees that. I can really see that from your content that you have really just, it's become a passion for you. And that's what's so exciting.
Yeah, and in some ways it becomes easier with time, and in some ways it becomes harder. Finding ways to continuously be inspired
Mm,
is so important. And I think I'm lucky in that sense where traveling always tends to inspire everybody.
yes.
Like you do not go to a new country and come back feeling like the same person. So I do feel very lucky and very fortunate for many, many reasons, but that is one of them.
And you got to travel during your time at the University of Utah, right? Didn't you do some travel experiences?
Yeah, I did a study abroad in Spain, then just traveled around Europe a little bit after that too.
So that study abroad was probably a big catalyst to you really realizing you love this kind of work.
I actually think it really was. I think my mindset completely shifted when I saw how people in Spain and Europe live their day-to-day life,
Mm,
as opposed to how people in the US live their day-to-day life. Like, I think that really shaped how I envision my long-term future. You're not living just to work.
hmm
You're living to live life, and work is a resource. And
hmm
I think that is something huge that I try to share in a sense. Like most of my page is about experiences and about encouraging people to travel more or go on adventures or even go outdoors on hikes and things like that. Like just enjoy life more because I know that sometimes we could get in the headspace of, work, 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 work. There's just so much more to life than that.
Yes, there is. I mean, you're right. I think when we think of work integrated into our life a little bit, right? It's
Mhm.
either if you're not doing the work that you love and you're passionate about, it can drain your life.
Mhm.
Whereas I think you're right. And a lot of people in Europe have this mentality of, no, I want it to enrich my life. I want work to be part of my identity in a professional sense, and then I have my personal life. And we're seeing that more and more now, I think, with the upcoming generation and that's entering the workforce, of being a little bit tired of this thinking of it that it has to be so separate from personal life. And that it is to be, you go to a 9 to 5 job and you come home and then, we have students doing so many side hustles and other passion projects. And I'm loving that. I'm loving more and more. I mean, we were certainly, when we were students at the U, I know that we were instilled that you got to find a full-time career and you got to make sure you're good with benefits and
Mhm.
but now I'm so inspired by the upcoming generation entering the workforce, because I'm seeing them sort of reject that mentality of no, work has to be this separate thing. Now they're seeing it as, well, I can do multiple things. And, this job I have now may not be the job that I stay in. It could be, but it also is something that I want to enrich my life and I want to make my work better, but I also want it to make me better.
Chasing your passion is such a beautiful thing.
Yes.
That, yeah, of course, like if you're working in something that has none of that, it is totally going to drain you. Find something that's going to enrich your life instead of something that you feel like is going to drain you.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So, what skills or habits do you think are most valuable in content creation? And do you think they can be learned, or are they more personality driven?
One is definitely being disciplined for content creation. Like you create your own schedule, you accept or decline your own work. Flexibility is one of my favorite things about being a content creator, but you definitely have to be disciplined just to make sure you get all your work done. I'm not sure if this falls into skills or habits, but really finding your own unique take on things, I think is just so valuable and is what the world needs from you. So maybe another skill is just be confident in your ideas and your thoughts, because that is truly what makes everyone stand out. And that's what will lead everyone to where they need to be.
Confidence, confidence. We talk about this a lot in, as career coaches and career professionals. We really try to instill this sense of confidence, which can be challenging, right? It's not always easy to
Mhm.
do that from yourself. And even when you're not feeling that way, when
Mhm.
you're feeling like, oh, I'm doubting myself in this way or in that way, I have noticed that sometimes you just have to roll with it. If it's not good, then people will maybe give that feedback to you and you move on from it and you just learn and you grow from it. And everybody messes up on things, or everybody isn't quite up to the bar that they want to be. But if you can just show that you love it and you're
Mhm.
just in it for the ride and you're just going to keep growing from it, it just works out.
Once you can understand that, your value and your worth, the confidence will come. Figure out what your value and your worth is, and then stick to that. No matter what, in turn, you'll gain confidence from that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sheila, for coming on the podcast. It is so great seeing you and hearing from you and what you're up to and all your successes. So I just appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Of course. Thank you for having me, and congratulations on this successful podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Join us next episode, where we will be doing the first hot topic of the season, where I will be talking a little bit more about imposter syndrome and how to overcome that. And when you do, how it can lead to so many more opportunities. Thanks for listening.